Welcome to the Net Front Presence, the playoff push edition. I'm Jeff Gordon, the Post-Dispatch, joined by our beat reporter Matthew DeFranks. And man, our heroes are in the chase with a big push after the Four Nations tournament. And it's getting interesting between the Blues and the Vancouver Canucks, the Calgary Flames, and Utah Hockey Club. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, as we wake up on this Thursday morning, Calgary has the second wild card spot. They have 71 points in 64 games. Vancouver 71 points in 65 games, and then St. Louis and Utah both 2 points back of Calgary with one more game played. So they got four teams all in the hunt, relatively close to each other. If Calgary does win that game in hand that they have on Vancouver, St. Louis, and Utah, then they open up a 4 point advantage, and it looks a little bit bigger. But if they've only been playing, a little over 500 hockey for the entire season, right? So if they lose that game, and suddenly we're looking at a lot tighter race for this last spot in the Western Conference. So it's a lot closer than I think we would have imagined. And even you look at this 4 day break that the Blues have had. This is when you would kind of expect them to maybe fall back in the standings a little bit when they're not playing games, they're not accumulating points, and that really hasn't happened. They've gone from 1 point out to 2 points out, so maybe they've fallen back a little bit, but the games played have kind of evened up a little bit. Vancouver is now on the same level as the Blues, and Calgary at one point they had played three fewer games in the Blues, and now they only have one game in hand. So the games played are getting a little closer, and the Blues are still in the race.
As far as the Blues go, the big hit was the loss of Colton Parayko. That's the bad news. The good news is they still had 5 proven D-men back on the blue line. And if you're looking for a lining that's got at least a little bit of shine to it, it's that they're going to have to play one of their younger D-men too, where had there not been the injury, it would probably just ride out to 6 veterans.
Yeah, and it is a huge blow, right? I think when you look at the season that Colton Parayko is having, you can think about him in the same tier as like Jacob Slavin in terms of defensive defenseman that can provide a decent all-around game. Not quite that upper echelon of defensemen, like a Hughes, Makar, whatever your Werenski, those types of guys. But the season that he was having, career high 15 goals, tied a career high 35 points, playing tough minutes, playing a lot of PK minutes, doing a lot, helping in transition, just doing a lot of things for the Blues. That's a big blow. And I don't think we've seen the effects of it quite yet. But I will say these past 2 games against Anaheim and Los Angeles, probably 2 of the worst ones that the Blues have had since coming back from the break. And, that one in Los Angeles is still gutty. They're out there laying out blocking shots and everything. But you wonder how, they can deal with these next 17 games without their best defenseman back there. And there is, I guess, the possibility that he does come back for the last few games of the season. The Blues, historically, when they announce a reevaluation timeline, those guys tend to come back earlier than that. And they've announced a 6 weeks timeline for Parayko. And I think back to Robert Thomas when he was given his timeline for his fractured ankle back in October, November. He came back a little earlier. Philip Broberg was back a little earlier from his injury. So I think the under promise, over deliver aspect of the Blues injury report has always kind of been there. So I wonder if there is still some hope to get Parayko back for the end of the regular season in case the Blues are still making that push. But yeah, it's a huge blow for them. And, as you mentioned, the good thing is when you look at Fowler, Falk, Leddy, Suter, Broberg, they have a ton of guys who have either played a lot of hockey in their entire career or a lot of big hockey this year in the case of Broberg. So they have a lot going, a lot of guys that can step in and play. Obviously, the 2 relatively inexperienced guys are Tucker and Kessel, where Tucker's been good in that long stint he had in the lineup. Kessel was decent in that first stint he had in the lineup earlier, and I think it'll be a matter of kind of getting both of them in, getting their handedness correct on whatever pairings that you want to line up and going from there. But yeah, the 5D that they do have there, they'll have to carry a lot of load, and that includes Philip Broberg and Justin Falk, who are basically the de facto #1 pair at this point in usage and time on ice and all that stuff.